Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
All right, let's take it from the top again. Places. Action.
Well, let's see. We have on the bags, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know is on third.
That's what I want to find out.
I say who's on first, what's on second, I don't know is on third.
Are you the manager?
Yes.
You going to be the coach, too?
Yes.
And you know the fellow's name?
Well, I should.
Well, then who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who?
The guy playing first.
Who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who?
Yes.
Join us for another voyage back in time on Classic Radio Rewind. From adventures to westerns, from comedy to sci-fi, this is your ticket to Theater of the Mind. Without any further ado, here's your host for Classic Radio Rewind, Barry Slinker.
Thank you, Dex Rowe. Barry is on vacation this week, and I will be your host for this week's edition of Classic Radio Rewind. I do hope everyone had a great 4th of July and a great holiday weekend. Also, in celebration of your 4th of July holiday, I do hope you were able to join us for the yours truly Johnny Dollar 4th of July marathon. We had a lot of great, positive feedback for that marathon. That 4th of July marathon has always been a staple in the yearly programming that occurs on Old Time Radio USA. Later I will discuss the next special coming up later this month, but it's now time for a 2-hour block from this week's edition of Classic Radio Rewind. Later we are going to hear from Mr. Keen Tracer of Lost Persons from 1950, followed by an episode from the Great Gildersleeve from 1943, and wrapping up this week's edition is an episode from The Whistler from 1947. But starting us off this week, we head out the Western Cavalry in Fort Laramie. In this episode starring Raymond Burr, Major Barlow believes in treating Indians as Captain Custer does harshly, and Captain Lee Quince has other ideas. From April 1st, 1956, this is Fort Laramie starring Raymond Burr in The Lost Child.
At the gallop! Oh!
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier, the saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire, and the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
Patrol! Halt! Sergeant Gorse.
Yes, sir.
Dismiss the patrol. I've got to report to Major Daggett.
Yes, sir.
And see that their horses are babied right this time.
Yes, sir. Roll. Bears dismount. Dismount.
Captain Quince reporting, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I thought you'd be alone.
That's all right, Captain. Oh, this is Major Barlow.
Major?
My pleasure, Captain.
Well, how did your patrol fare?
Routine, sir. No sign of trouble.
Good. Oh, sit down, Quince.
Thank you, sir.
Major Barlow is here on orders from General Staff in Washington. He's surveying all the posts in our department.
I have only a few days here, and then I'm going on to Fort Dodge.
General Custer's command?
Yes. I'm looking forward to that. Read hundreds of reports, and certainly that 7th Cavalry is doing the best job with the hostiles that can be done.
You haven't surveyed them yet?
Well, not personally, no. The record reads victory after victory. I wish we could say the same about the 2nd.
Well, the circumstances are a little different, Major. They're waging open warfare from Fort Dodge. Here, we try to keep hostilities at a minimum, maintain peace. Captain, how much firefight have we seen in the last month?
Oh, 3 or 4 skirmishes is all, sir. Mostly with dog soldiers driven from the Fort Dodge section.
Dog soldiers?
There are 2 kinds of Cheyenne. That's the tribe we've been most interested in around here lately. Dog soldiers are the warriors. They wear 3 feathers.
Oh.
The ones that don't wear the feathers are the reservation peaceful kind. We don't bother either unless they make us.
Yeah. Well, Major, it's the belief of many members of the staff, including myself, that a soft policy such as yours is bound to lead to an uprising.
I hope you're wrong, sir.
Well, the hostiles see it as a sign of weakness. The only way to enforce peace with these savages is to maintain constant pressure, continual display of strength.
Will we get a directive to that effect, Major? Or is that a private opinion?
It's my opinion at the moment. I can assure you I'll do everything I can to see a directive based on it. Now, Captain, if you'll show me to your troop area.
Yes, sir.
Major Barlow will be attached to your troop during his stay. You'll place yourself at his disposal, do everything possible to assist him in making his survey.
It's an honor, sir.
First thing I want to do, Captain, is make a complete tour of the reservation camps. I want a first-hand look at the natives. Their condition, their attitudes, extent of their weapons, so on.
Camps are pretty well scattered, Major. It'll take some time to cover all of them.
These reservation people should be centralized so they can be watched.
They've lived in small village bands for hundreds of generations. They kind of need stretching
They're
room.
prisoners of war, Captain. Prisoners of war live under imposed conditions, not their own.
Yes, sir.
Captain Quince?
Yes, Sergeant? At ease. What is it?
There's a man waiting for you in the orderly room, sir. Ben Coons.
What does he want?
He says his stepson was stole by the Cheyenne.
What's that?
We'll go in and find out. Thank you, Sergeant. I've just heard about your son, Coons. How'd it happen?
How do I know? My place is only 5 miles outside of town, and he was gone when I got home last night. Look at this.
Cheyenne scalping knife.
It was stuck in my door. I've had a Cheyenne lodge oath hanging over my head for a year. That filthy devil finally found a way to get to me.
You mean someone in particular?
One of the worst of the breed. Wasiah.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Quite a warrior.
You say he's had a personal hatred for you, Mr. Coons?
Ever since last summer. I was scouting for the 7th. I run across his camp on that big north swing of the Solomon. You know, Captain, just before it flows into Grand Valley.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I led the troopers into it, and during the fracas, Wasiah's brother was killed. That's when he took the oath to put me under, or do worse. Now he's done it. Taken Billy.
I'm sorry about your son, Coons. But the way I heard the story of that attack, Wasiah's wife and 8-year-old son were killed, too, by one of our scouts.
I didn't have nothing to do with it. I did what I was paid to.
Captain, the man's child's been kidnapped. I see no reason to discuss anything else.
The Army's supposed to protect the civilians.
What makes you so sure it was Wasiah?
Well, he brought his band into the Laramie foothills 2 days ago. Put that and the knife and his oath together, and there's no place else to look.
Where'd you hear he was in this part of the country?
Your breed scout, Quanto, got wind of it.
I should think you would have learned about it in your patrol, Captain.
No, we were working in the other direction, Major.
No.
I heard this morning. Right away, I got the feeling about what happened, and I started looking for sign around my place. I found it right enough. A wash about a half-mile away. Tracks of 9 ponies headed south toward the hills. I want that Cheyenne dog brought in and hung up where I can see it.
Sergeant Gorse?
Yo!
Go look up Quanto. He says there's a band of Cheyenne in the Laramie foothills. I want to talk to their head man. Find out where they are, pick out 10 good men for the patrol, including you.
Yes, sir.
You'll make provision for me to go with you, Captain.
There won't be much in the way of provision, Major, but you're welcome, sir. Coons, you go tell your story to Major Daggett. As soon as I get word from him, we'll move out.
All right, Captain.
Oh, Coons. How old is your stepson?
9 years next month, if he's still alive.
Same age Wasiah's son would have been. Well, if they're together, I don't think you have to worry about Billy being anything but alive and well.
You got a lot to learn about Cheyenne, Captain.
Maybe you could teach me. You want to come along?
I'll go talk to the major.
There goes a man with a bad conscience.
What about your own, Captain? You seem to feel more sympathy for the savage than you do for this poor man who's lost a child. I hardly think your attitude right for a man in your position.
I suppose it won't look good in your survey report, sir, but there's a popular idea out here I've never been able to swallow and keep down. That whatever a white man does to an Indian is all right. But whatever an Indian does is all wrong.
You and I are soldiers, Captain. We do not set policy. We follow it.
Yes, sir.
Fast water Quato talked about's just around this bend, Captain.
I know. I caught some beautiful trout in that stretch.
That's where their camp's supposed to be.
Hadn't you better order carbines at the ready? A show of preparedness, Captain?
Little late for that, Major. They've had their eye on us for at least an hour.
Why do you bring a small force into a situation like this? Surely you don't trust them not to catch us in ambush.
I don't trust them, Major. I know them. The best place for ambush was about 2 miles back. We've gone beyond the point of carbines at the ready. There you are, Major, up ahead, waiting for us. Those are dog soldiers. Some of the best mounted fighters in the world.
We're well outnumbered, Captain.
We always are. Now, they'll come in to meet us at full run and screaming like banshees. That's their way. They don't want you to know whether they mean to be friendly or to open your throat. If we had our carbines ready, their run wouldn't be exactly friendly. Patrol! Halt! Keep your hands away from your weapons, men, unless I tell you different. Stay relaxed, the way you do on the parade ground when I want you to be alert.
You should have ordered out your full troop, Captain.
Captain, here they come.
I see him, Gorse. Act like this happens every day, men. Just rest easy in your saddles and talk to each other.
Captain, order carbines at the ready.
That an order, Major?
It's common sense. Show them we'll fight.
Don't draw your pistol, Major. You'll spook them for sure, waving that thing around. They'd have opened up by now if they were going to. Sahi, who is chief among you? Which of you is Wasiah?
I am Wasiah. Why do the soldiers come to us? We have done no wrong.
I brought you your scalping knife, Wasiah. Here.
Huh. Where is the one called Coons? The woman killer, the child killer. Did he die of fear when he found my sign?
Why, that insolent beggar.
He says that you came for vengeance and that you stole his son.
I have stolen no son.
You were at his house, and now the boy is missing.
I have stolen no boy.
Oh, he's lying, Captain.
What does the high soldier say?
I say you are lying.
Major.
I speak true.
We'll search your camp and find out how much truth.
No, we want no soldiers in our camp.
Ain't there any way you can stop him, Captain?
You ever been able to stop me, Gorse?
Well, I'd sure try if you went off half-cocked like he is.
To our camp, there is trouble. We want no trouble. We are at peace.
You don't want us in your camp because you're lying. The search is going to be made. And if you resist us, I'll see the whole 2nd Cavalry out to do the job.
Pandu Nikelo!
Patrol! Carbines at the ready!
Boots or carbines?
What was that, Captain?
Sorry, Major. They're going back to their camp.
Those insolent... Well, at least I've seen a prime example of what a soft policy brings about. The hostiles move up here from the 7th Cavalry area. Undoubtedly, they rest, repair equipment, and go back to take up the attack again.
Some of them do, some of them don't. There are good ones and bad ones with these people, same as there are with whites.
Well, until such time as a magician is attached to the 2nd who can distinguish between the two, Captain, pressure should be exerted against all of them. We'll return to the fort. I'm going to recommend that at least 2 troops are assigned to this matter until that boy's recovered.
With your permission, sir, I'll stay here. Sergeant Gorse will take command of the patrol and escort you.
Why on earth stay here? I need your statement at the fort.
You have plenty of other witnesses, sir. Before you come back with 2 troops of cavalry, I'd sort of like to see what one man can do in that camp.
You're thinking as an individual again, Captain.
A hard habit to break, sir. If it doesn't work, it'll make a strong point in your survey report.
Very well. I trust you don't expect commendation on your stubbornness. I do plan to make reference to your unmilitary behavior.
Be better if we could send old Brass Shoulders in alone.
Watch your manners, Sergeant.
Don't you want me to stay with you?
Thank you, Gorse, but I don't need you. This may look crazy, but I don't think I'll run into any trouble.
If that youngin's in there, you will, sir.
Yeah, I don't figure he is. I've been thinking. If I was Wasiah and had kidnapped the boy, I sure wouldn't have left a knife to point the finger at me. And I would have hightailed it out of these parts a long time before this.
I sure hope you're right, Captain.
Sergeant, I'm ready to go.
Not far enough.
Watch your manners, Gorse.
Yes, sir. Good luck.
Easy, easy.
Stop, soldier! You do not come in our camp.
Then come out here, Wasiah, so we can talk without being bothered by others.
Do we talk about the son I did not steal?
I believe you. I believe that you didn't steal him.
Your high soldier is blind. His words cut like flint.
He's new to this country. He has much to learn.
He went back. Does he bring more soldiers to attack us?
That's what's in his mind now. It'll take a day, so you have time to move your camp.
Strange words from a soldier. Why do you stand with me when the high soldier says I lie?
I've heard much of you, Wasiah. If you were going to steal a son, you'd do it better than this.
I say this. The days are gone when a son brought only gladness to his father. Now the father looks to the day when his son reaches manhood and sees nothing but sadness and hunger and fighting a war that will not be won. Some nights, when sleep runs away from me, I think of my son, and I am happy that he is not with me to share the trouble that follows us. I would steal no son. I have nothing to give him.
Do you truly want peace, Wasiah?
A peace with honor, yes. We are tired of fighting and running.
This is a small thing, a missing child, when you measure it against the bigness of the trouble that we're all in, all the tribes, all the army units. But it's a thing that could stir everything up again. Word from the major could go to Washington.
His words from his mind.
They'd be believed because no other words could go to say they were wrong. I'd like to stop it, Wasiah. Would you help me?
How would a Cheyenne help a soldier?
If you and I could find the boy and take him back, everyone would know that you are a man of honor and truth, and that you lead a peaceful band.
Then the high soldier's word would be lies.
You'd be right, and he'd be wrong.
For that, I would help. But how?
Have any other new bands moved into this section that could have taken the boy?
One Shoshone and one from my tribe.
Could you find out if they have him?
Yeah.
Will you do it?
I will.
While you do that, I'll try and get a line on him. Will you meet me in the wash near Coon's place at sunrise tomorrow?
Do you know what you asked me to do? To help the man who killed my son and my wife?
I know, Wasiah.
We meet at sunrise, soldier.
Hold.
I am here, soldier.
You hide well. What did you learn?
The boy is not with the Shoshones and not with the Cheyenne.
Then we have another way to go. He has an uncle in the Rock River settlement. He's talked to some of his young friends about going to live with him. He told them the trail he'd take. If I put you on it, could you pick up his sign and follow it?
I have followed older sign.
We'll go then.
Wait. He fell here.
All right. Look there, piece of cloth. I'd say he has torn clothing and a sore knee.
He rested here. Slept, I think. See, the grass is pressed down.
He's traveled a long way for an 8-year-old.
I think not much farther than this. He started very slow from here. There, soldier.
Billy? Billy? We're going to take you home.
No, I won't go back.
It's all right, Billy.
Who's he?
His name is Wasiah. He's a friend of mine.
You are a good, strong boy to come this far. If I had a son, I would hope he would be so strong.
You've got a nasty bruise on your face, Billy. You must have taken a bad fall.
He hit me.
Who did?
My paw. With a stick. He hit me till I ran away.
Here, let's see under your shirt. Yeah, he sure did hit you, didn't he?
I won't go back. My paw hit me again.
Come on. Stand up, Billy. Look, I don't blame you for running away. I guess I'd have done the same thing.
I won't go back.
If you want to live with your uncle, I think we can work it out.
In Rock River?
Yeah. And instead of trying to get there all by yourself, how would you like it if you could ride with the cavalry?
By myself? On a horse?
Yes. Horse all your own. Now, you ready to start back?
I won't stay with my pa.
You won't have to.
Come here, boy. You ride with me on my pony.
No, I don't want to.
Why, sure you do, Billy. Think what you can tell your friends. I'll bet none of them have ridden with a real Cheyenne warrior. Come on now. Show them how brave you are.
Come here, boy. Am I strong enough to lift you up? Oh. He not know the feel of a white man on his back.
You all right, Billy?
Does this pony run fast?
Oh, yes. Faster than prairie fire. I go. Wait, soldier.
They're forming the two troops for the big search.
I go no farther.
I know how you feel because I felt the same way riding into your camp. But the major from Washington won't believe you had a part of this unless you ride in with me. You have my word that everything will be all right.
I go on your word.
Right up to the major, Wasiah. Captain Quince reporting, sir.
Well, this savage did steal the boy. In spite of his surrender, he's to be punished.
This is no surrender.
Give me the details, Captain.
I'd rather you ask the boy, sir.
All right, son. What did he do to you?
He didn't steal me. He found me. I ran away because my pa hit me with a stick. He does it lots of times, and I won't go back. I just won't.
Order the troops dismissed.
Yes, sir.
Prepare to dismount.
Come on, Billy. We'll find you something to eat. Wasiah, I'd stay out of the 7th Cavalry territory for a while. The high soldier is going to be moving that way.
There is very far place where there are many antelope. I think my people are hungry for antelope.
My thanks go with you.
Mine stay with you. You grow strong, boy. One day you can beat your stepfather. I leave my vengeance with you. I go.
Goodbye.
Come on, Billy.
Captain?
Yeah, Gorse?
Old Ironside sure don't want to admit there's such a thing as a good Injun, does he?
He's a better soldier than we are, Sergeant.
What?
He operates strictly from the book. Maybe in the next situation, the book will be right.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by Gil Dowd, with sound patterns by Bill James and Ray Kemper, musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Lawrence Dobkin, Clayton Post, Ralph Moody, Jack Moyles, and Richard Beals.
Company, tension! Dismiss.
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. Each Monday through Friday evening, CBS Radio rings you in on the fabulous adventures of insurance investigator Johnny Dollar. Just by decoding the cryptic items in his expense account, you'll learn how a dime spent in a phone booth can lead to a scene of the wildest suspense. Then on to a sum spent for an airplane ticket or an item for a new shoelace. And again, you'll find yourself smack in the middle of a thrill-packed situation. Each new adventure moves the story forward to its dramatic payoff when Johnny Dollar solves yet another case of arson, fraud, or murder. Every Monday through Friday night over most of these same stations, hear yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
That was Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince in Fort Laramie with the episode titled The Lost Child, as originally heard April 1st, 1956. Coming up next on Classic Radio Rewind, we're going to hear from Mr. Keen, tracer of lost persons. In this episode starring Bennett Kilpack, a madwoman has escaped from an insane asylum and has committed murder. From January 5th, 1950, this is Mr. Keen, tracer of lost persons with The Case of the Rushville Murder.
It's time now for Mr. Keen, tracer of lost persons. Ladies and gentlemen, Anison and Colinos present Mr. Keen, tracer of lost persons, one of the most famous characters of American fiction and one of radio's most thrilling dramas. Tonight and every Thursday at the same time, the famous old investigator takes from his file and brings to us one of his most celebrated missing persons cases. Tonight's case is entitled The Case of the Rushville Murder. This program is brought to you by the makers of Anison, the remarkable tablets that bring incredibly fast and effective relief from the pain of headaches, neuritis, and neuralgia. Anison is like a doctor's prescription. That is, it contains not just one, but a combination of medically proven active ingredients in easy-to-take tablet form. Thousands of people have received envelopes containing Anison tablets from their own dentist or physician. Perhaps you, too, have been introduced to Anison this way. Then you know how effective Anison is. If not, try it yourself. Whenever you want incredibly fast relief from the pain of headache, neuritis, or neuralgia, you'll be delighted with the results. For most effective relief, use only as directed. Just ask for Anison at any drug counter. It's spelled A-N-A-C-I-N. Anison. Now for Mr. Keen and the case of the Rushville murder. Our scene opens in the home of Dr. Prentice, a well-known physician and psychiatrist who resides in the small New Jersey community of Rushville. The doctor's daughter, a tall, lovely young girl, is just reaching for the telephone, which has been ringing insistently, as if aware of the urgency of this particular call.
Hello?
Laura, this is Dad.
Oh, where are you, Father?
At the hospital, but I'm coming right home, Laura. After I hang up, be sure to shut and bolt all the doors and windows.
Why, what's happened, Dad?
One of my patients has just escaped from the hospital. She's a homicidal maniac, Laura, and extremely dangerous.
Father, there was something I wanted to tell you.
Later, my dear. Right now, you do as I ask. This insane patient of mine is under the delusion that I'm her enemy, and she may head for the house immediately. I've already informed the police.
All right, Father.
And don't let anyone inside the house. I'll be home in 20 minutes. Goodbye, Laura.
Goodbye. There. I've shut and locked all the windows. Who's there? Oh, no. No, you're not going to... No. No, don't touch me. Put down that knife. No!
My daughter was found by the police 5 minutes after I had phoned her, Mr. Keene. She'd been stabbed to death with a kitchen knife.
Tell me, were all the windows and doors in your home locked as you had asked, Dr. Prentice?
No, Mr. Keene. The windows were shut, but apparently Laura never had time to lock the back door that leads to the kitchen before Natalie Craven, the insane patient, reached the house.
Saints preserve us. Dr. Prentice, your insane patient seemed to head for your home immediately after escaping from the hospital.
Yes.
That's a little odd in itself.
But I told you how this patient felt about me, Mr. Keene. I'd treated her for a mental disorder for 2 years, but she developed a fixation about me and began to feel that I was her mortal enemy.
Well, you were devoting your time to bring her back to sanity.
Yes, Mr. Keene.
But what I meant, Dr. Prentice, was this. You were in the hospital at the time of the insane woman's escape. Now, if she wanted to murder you, why didn't she attack you after you left the building? Why did she come to your home instead and attack your daughter?
The mind of a psychotic reacts in odd ways, Mr. Keene. This woman, Nettie Craven, may have thought I'd left the hospital. Then, finding I wasn't at home, she must have attacked my daughter, Laura, to revenge herself on me.
Oh, I see what you mean, Doctor.
Since the death of my wife, Mr. Keene, there have been only 2 things in my life: my work and my daughter, Laura. Laura is gone now. But I still have my work. And I intend to carry on.
Naturally.
I don't want Nettie Craven punished for the crime. She's completely insane. But she must be caught and returned to the hospital before she claims another victim.
You, for instance, Dr. Prentice?
Oh, I wasn't thinking of myself. I'm thinking of others. That's why I've come to you, Mr. Keene. The police are on the case, of course. And if an investigator of your ability also enters it and works along with them, the woman will be captured all the sooner.
I intend to do everything I can, Dr. Prentice.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Keene. Needless to say, you'll be doing a great public service.
But we're also thinking about you, Dr. Prentice.
Oh, please don't worry about me, Mr. Clancy.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to do a little prescribing in this particular case, Dr. Prentice. Where is your home?
In New Jersey, a town called Rushville.
Well, Rushville is just across the river.
That's right, Mr. Clancy.
Dr. Prentice, I'd like to exchange house keys with you. I'd like you to stay in my apartment until this case is over. And Mike and I will stay in your house.
But my work, Mr. Keene, my practice.
Well, it'll be better for you to miss a few days' work now, Doc, than to end up with no work at all.
You mean you think Nettie Craven will try to make me her next victim?
If this insane woman killed your daughter, yes. I insist that you take these precautions, Doctor.
Well, in that case, I'll do as you ask, Mr. Keene.
Fine.
And be careful yourself. I needn't remind you that a homicidal case like Nettie's is most dangerous.
Well, I'm aware of that, Dr. Prentice.
There's just one thing I'd like to add, Mr. Keene. If a young man named John Digby calls, try to break the news of Laura's murder as gently as possible. John is Laura's husband.
Husband, eh? Was he living in your home, too, Doctor?
No. As a matter of fact, my daughter Laura had just come back to my house the day before. She and John were married only a month ago. They had a childish quarrel.
I see.
Oh, it was nothing at all, Mr. Keene. John's a fine boy, and I was certain I could have patched things up between them.
You tried to notify him of Laura's death, didn't you, Dr. Prentice?
Yes, but I couldn't reach him anywhere.
Very well, Dr. Prentice. You can proceed to my home immediately. I'll notify the hospital you won't be available for a few days. Meanwhile, Mike and I will bend every effort to put our hands on this Rushville murderer before another victim is added to the list.
Well, the light switch must be on this wall here, Mr. Keene, sir. Oh, here it is.
Well, Dr. Prentice seems to have a very comfortable home, Mike.
I'm sure, and it's too bad he lost his daughter. It's pretty tough for a man to go through something like that, Mr. Keene.
Yes, but he still has his work, and he's one of the best in the profession. If we can...
Boss, just a minute. I thought I heard someone moving around the next room.
You're right, Mike. There's someone here. Open that door.
I'd better have my gun handy, just in case.
Who are you?
Stand where you are, mister. Don't move.
What are you, thieves?
No, young man. We happen to be working with the police.
The police?
What are you doing here in Dr. Prentice's home?
Come to talk to my wife.
His wife? This must be young John Digby, boss. Laura's husband.
How did you know my name?
Your father-in-law, Dr. Prentice, told us about you, John. My name is Keene. This is my partner, Mike Clancy. May I ask how you got into this house?
Why, there was a kitchen window open. I didn't want to ring the front doorbell because I thought that Laura wouldn't let me in. We'd quarreled like a couple of silly kids, and she'd left me. I've come back to apologize to her.
Saints preserve us, but he hasn't even heard.
Heard what?
Sit down, John.
What is it? Why are you both looking at me like that?
Where have you been for the past 2 days?
I was so miserable after our quarrel. I went to a little town near Philadelphia.
That explains why you didn't learn of the tragedy.
What tragedy?
It's going to be a shock, John, so prepare yourself. Your wife, Laura, was murdered.
Laura murdered?
By a maniac.
No, I don't believe it.
It's true. And I'm sorry. One of your father-in-law's patients, an insane woman, escaped from the hospital. And they think she attacked your wife.
I should never have let Laura leave our apartment. It's all my fault, Mr. Keene.
Sometimes fate works out things in her own peculiar way, John.
And you think it was that maniac who killed Laura?
Well, that's the general opinion.
Well, it isn't my opinion.
What do you mean, John?
Mr. Keene, a few days ago, Laura was troubled by something important she wanted to tell her father. She started to tell me about it when I got home. But I interrupted her, and that's when we had our quarrel.
You don't know what it was that worried your wife?
I can guess. We fought because I was jealous, Mr. Keene. Jealous of a man named Arthur Halliday.
And who is he, John?
He used to be a medical student at the university in town. Dr. Prentice is a member of the examining board in that university. The board that passes on a student's character before he's permitted to graduate as a doctor.
Yes, go on.
Halliday drank a lot, gambled. The examining board found out and dismissed him from the medical school. They decided he was too weak to accept the responsibility a doctor must take.
You say you were jealous of this Arthur Halliday?
Yes, Mr. Keene. He used to see a lot of Laura before we were married. The other day, I saw them together on the street. She never told me she was seeing him. Now it's beginning to be clear to me. Halliday was probably trying to use Laura's influence with her father to have himself reinstated at the medical school. She refused, and he made a threat. That's what she wanted to tell her father, Dr. Prentice, about.
Well, you don't mind my saying so, John. You're taking a lot for granted.
But it is worthwhile looking into, isn't it, Mr. Keene? If I ever find out that Arthur Halliday was responsible for Laura's death, I'll...
Why, you look a little pale, young fella.
News is too much of a shock for him, Mike. Would you like to lie down inside for a while, John?
Yes, sir. I think I'd better. I'll be all right, Mr. Keene. I just want to be alone for a few minutes.
I'll answer that, Mike.
Is Dr. Prentice in, please?
No, not at the moment.
My name is Maud Craven.
Craven? Mr. Keene, she must be related to that insane patient who escaped.
She's my sister, sir.
Come in, Miss Craven. My name is Keene. I happen to be looking for your sister.
Mr. Keene, the famous investigator? Oh, you won't put Nettie in prison, will you, sir? She doesn't realize what she's doing.
All I want is to return her to the hospital where she belongs.
I know they're looking for Nettie. They think she murdered the doctor's daughter, Laura. I came here to tell Dr. Prentice how unhappy it made me when I heard about what happened.
Do you know where your sister may have hidden, Miss Craven?
If I did, Mr. Keene, I'd call the hospital. I know how dangerous Nettie is. I don't want to give her the chance to do to someone else what she did to poor Miss Laura.
Excuse me for a moment, please. Hello?
Dr. Prentice?
He's not in at the moment. Who's calling, please?
Arthur Halliday. When will I be able to reach him?
Why, very shortly. Is it important?
I'll say it's important. To me, anyway. Who is this?
A friend of the doctor's.
Well, you can give him this message. He's kicked me around long enough. Because of him, I can't get into a medical school in the country. And if he doesn't stop hounding me, I'll square accounts.
Hello? Hello?
Who was that, Mr. Keen?
It was Arthur Halliday, Mike. The young medical student John Digby told us about. I wish I could have gotten his address.
Well, if he was a student in the town university, they can tell you where to reach him, Mr. Keene. If you want me to, I'll...
What is it, Miss Craven?
The window.
Sans preserve us. There's someone outside, boss.
Yes, she's staring in the window.
Look at that face. She looks like an animal.
It's Nettie. It's my sister.
Grab her, Mike.
Mr. Keene.
Isn't she there?
There's no one in sight, sir. She's disappeared like a ghost, boss. It's too dark out here to see where she went.
She couldn't have gotten far, Mike. Something tells me she's still close by. Come on. We're going to search every inch of these grounds.
In just a moment, we'll return to Mr. Keene and the case of the Rushville murder. Meanwhile, beware of unpleasing breath that breathes between the teeth. Use Colinos toothpaste with dental floss action. Those crevices where food particles can decay must be reached for a clean mouth, welcome breath. Colinos toothpaste gives you dental floss action. That is, sends thousands of cleansing bubbles to help dislodge bits of food that can cause unpleasing breath and decay. Colinost is dentist recommended. Cleans teeth bright, keeps breath right. And listen. Now save 31 cents on Colinost toothpaste in the new giant economy size. Go to your dealers today. Take advantage of this great bargain. Save 31 cents on new giant economy size Colinos. Get Colinos toothpaste today. Now back to Mr. Keene and the case of the Rushville murder. Mr. Keene, the great investigator, and his partner, Mike Clancy, are investigating the murder of Laura Digby, the married daughter of a well-known physician, Dr. Prentice, who's attached to a hospital for the insane. One of the patients, an insane woman named Nettie Craven, escaped from the hospital, and she's the one who is under suspicion for the crime. Now, Mike and Mr. Keene have just seen Nettie's face peering in through a window of Dr. Prentice's home. And as they search the grounds for her...
She was standing right over here, Mr. Keene, near this window.
Yes, she was, Mike, but I don't see any footprints.
It's starting to snow, boss.
Well, we'd better go back inside the house. Maybe Nettie Craven managed to slip away after all. Mike.
Yes, boss.
Come over here for a moment. Look at this.
Why, it's a pair of doors leading right into the ground.
No, it doesn't lead into the ground, Mike. It probably leads into the cellar of the house. Some of these old-fashioned houses have cellars built this way. See if you can open it, Mike.
Well, I'd try. No, it won't budge, Mr. Keene.
Nettie must have bolted it on the inside.
You think she's hiding in there?
Yes. By now, she must be somewhere inside the house, Mike. Here, let me have your handcuffs.
Here you are, Mr. Keene.
Put these handcuffs through the rings on the cellar doors. Lock them from the outside. There we are, Mike. Now she won't be able to get out the way she came in. Now let's go back inside the house and find her.
Mr. Keene, did you find my sister Nettie?
Not yet, Miss Craven. We think she's got inside the house through the cellar.
She's in here?
Why, you're not afraid of your sister, are you?
I don't know, Mr. Keene. I used to be able to reason with Nettie, but lately she's been so violent.
You better stay right here in the living room while we make a search, Miss Craven. First, Mike, we'll phone the police in the hospital and tell them to send help.
Well, here's the telephone, boss. It's funny.
What's the trouble, Mike?
It sounds like the phone is dead.
Just a minute. Let's see where the phone wire runs to. Goes to this wall, then runs along the woodwork to the window. Open up the window, Mike.
Well, Mr. King, the phone wire has been pulled right out of the outside wall.
Mike, this window faces the side of the house where we saw Nettie Craven.
Well, then Nettie Craven must have pulled the phone wire out just before she went through the cellar doors, Mr. King.
There's a car coming down the driveway, Mike.
Yeah, but he's not coming all the way, boss. He's stopping on top of that small hill where the driveway goes up and turns out to the main road.
That's peculiar.
Now he's put his headlights out.
Mike, search this house. See if you can find Nettie Craven. But be careful.
I will, Mr. King.
Get hold of John Digby to help you. I'm going outside again and see what our latest visitor is up to. Who's there?
Who are you? My name is Halliday.
Arthur Halliday, the medical student?
The ex-medical student. If it wasn't for Dr. Prentice, I might have been practicing now.
If your character had been what it should have, Dr. Prentice and the school board wouldn't have stood in your way.
You must be the man I talked to on the phone a few minutes ago.
That's right. My name is Keene.
Get out of my way. It's Prentice I want to see.
Now, just a moment. Do you happen to know that Dr. Prentice's daughter, Laura, has been murdered?
Laura? Murdered?
You didn't read about it in the papers?
I just got back from New Orleans. I tried to get into another medical school down there, but they wouldn't have me. That's Dr. Prentice's fault, too.
When a man has a bad reputation, it travels fast, Halliday.
I'm not asking you for your opinion, Keene. I asked Laura to help me, but she wouldn't. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. Now get out of my way before I shoot.
I had a feeling you were rather stealthy about your movements. Parking your car up there on the hill and sneaking down Dr. Prentice's driveway in the dark. That gun you have seems to bear me out.
I'm going to get square, see? Prentice is my enemy. And if it's the last thing I
Look out behind you, Halliday.
Don't try and trick me.
Your car, it's running wild.
What?
Jump, Halliday. Put him over here on this couch, Mike.
There. Easy now.
His car rolled down the hill and smashed into the house after hitting Halliday. I don't think he's seriously injured, just stunned. I managed to push him partly out of the way.
Well, Mr. Keene, how could a man be dumb enough to park a car on a hill with his handbrake off?
The brake was on when I left it.
Did you hear what he said, boss?
Yes, Mike. That means someone deliberately released that handbrake, hoping the car would roll down and kill the two of us. Where are John Digby and Maud Craven?
Here I am, Mr. Keene. Oh, what's happened?
This man's been hurt, Miss Craven. Where have you been?
I heard a noise upstairs, and I went up to investigate. I hoped that I might be able to reason with my sister Nettie and save you trouble, Mr. Keene.
You haven't left this house?
No, Mr. Keene.
Where's John Digby, Mike?
Well, he wasn't in that bedroom where he went to lie down, boss. So I started to search the house by myself, and just as I started down into the cellar, I heard the car crash, and I ran up. Saints preserve us. What was that?
Mr. Keene, it sounded like my sister Nettie.
Sounds like an insane person, all right.
Enough to chill you to the marrow. Just listen to her.
It's coming from the cellar, Mike. Come on, let's get down there immediately.
Mr. Keene, stay where you are. For heaven's sake, don't move.
It's John Digby, boss.
Nettie Craven's standing behind him, Mike, with an axe in her hands.
Yes, I'm Nettie Craven. Don't move, either of you.
Do as she says, Mr. Keene, or she'll bury that axe in the back of my head.
Nettie, why do you want to harm John Digby?
Who are you?
I'm a friend of yours, Nettie.
Are you?
Won't you put that axe down so we can talk?
I can talk with the axe in my hand. Where's Dr. Prentice?
He's not here, Nettie.
That's all they ever do is lie to me. Where is he?
I told you, Dr. Prentice is not here.
Tell him his patient's here. Tell him the most beautiful patient he ever had is waiting for him.
She's as mad as a hatter, Mr. Keene.
Mad, am I? I'll show you who's mad.
Nettie, wait. I think you're very clever, Nettie.
There's a man with sense.
How long have you been hiding here in Dr. Prentice's house?
None of your business.
Do you know that it's snowing very hard outside?
Snowing? Wasn't snowing when I came in?
No, you'll need rubbers when you go home, or you'll catch a cold.
Yes, I will.
Wouldn't you like us to take you home in a car?
A big car?
A very big one. Where do you want us to take you?
I want to see Dr. Prentice.
Why?
I don't know. I had a reason. I forget it now.
Nettie, do you want that ride?
In the car?
Yes.
Yes, I'd love it.
Then put the axe down.
She's dropped the axe. Grab her,
Let
grab
me
her.
handle this, John. Nettie, did you kill Dr. Prentice's daughter, Laura?
I never killed anyone.
But you once threatened Dr. Prentice, didn't you?
Nettie? Nettie, what are you doing down there? Maud! It's my sister, Maud.
Oh, thank heaven you've found her, Mr. Keene. Is everything all right?
Yes, Miss Craven. Mike, you have an extra pair of handcuffs, haven't you?
Oh, you're not going to handcuff my sister Nettie, are you?
No, I believe I can handle Nettie with a little psychology. We're going to handcuff you, Maud Craven.
Me?
Put them on her, Mike.
What for?
The murder of Laura Digby.
Oh, it's a lie!
A few moments ago, you told me you never left that living room, Maud Craven. Yet your shoes were wet, and I saw snowflakes in your hair. You were outside the house. And you released the handbrake on Arthur Halliday's car.
It was Nettie. She did it.
No, Maud. I know that your sister Nettie has been inside since it started snowing, because her shoes are dry. The one who released that car brake and tried to kill Halliday and me was the one who murdered Dr. Prentice's daughter, Laura.
You can't prove I did that.
No? Well, we'll see. There are fingerprints on that brake handle, no doubt. And I have a hunch they'll match with yours.
But I was wearing gloves.
Of course you were. However, that admission is all I needed.
Oh, you tricked me. You tricked me, Mr. Keene, just now the way Dr. Prentice did.
How did he trick you?
I thought he was in love with me, but he was only leading me on.
I knew you fell for him, Maud. I knew it all the time. You used to be there when he came to see me at the hospital, to talk to me. I could see it in your eyes. But he didn't fall for you.
That's right, Nettie. Stand up for him. One of the reasons I wanted to get rid of him was because of you. Don't you see, Nettie? Dr. Prentice was the one who said you were insane. He put you in that hospital. You know you hated him.
Mr. Keene, look at Maud Craven's eyes. She looks as crazy as her sister Nettie.
Yes, I know, John. It appears that both sisters are hopelessly insane.
You fools, you idiots. If you try to turn me in, you'll get what Laura got.
So that's why you murdered Laura. She must have found out about your mental condition and was going to tell her father.
Yes. That must have been why Laura was worried, Mr. Keene.
Exactly, John. Your wife, Laura, found out that Maud Craven was as insane as her sister. But before she could inform the doctor, Maud entered the house and killed her.
Is Maud coming with us now?
Yes, Nettie, she's coming with you. She's going to stay with you in the mental hospital. But I think we can take both of them away and consider the case of the Rushville murder as closed.
And so Mr. Keene finds the solution to the case of the Rushville murder. The next time you're suffering from the pain of headache, neuritis, or neuralgia, try Anacin. You'll bless the day you heard of this incredibly fast way to relieve these pains. Now, the reason Anacin is so wonderfully fast-acting and effective is this. Anacin is like a doctor's prescription. That is, Anacin contains not just one, but a combination of medically proven active ingredients in easy-to-take tablet form. Thousands of people have received envelopes containing Anacin tablets from their own dentist or physician, and in this way have discovered the incredibly fast relief Anacin brings from pain of headache, neuritis, or neuralgia. So next time such pain strike, take Anacin. For most effective relief, use only as directed. Your druggist has Anacin in handy boxes of 12 and 30, and economical family-sized bottles of 50 and 100. The name is Anacin, A-N-A-C-I-N. Mr. Keene, Tracer of Lost Persons, is based on the novel Mr. Keene. The radio sequel is originated and produced by Frank and Ann Hummert. Dialogue by Lawrence Clee. Bennett Kilpack plays Mr. Keene. It is on the air every Thursday at this time. Don't miss Mr. Keene next Thursday when the kindly old Tracer turns to the case of murder on the sightseeing bus.
That was Mr. Keene, Tracer of Lost Persons with The Case of the Rushville Murder, starring Bennett Kilpatrick, as originally heard January 5th, 1950. And just like that, we have come to the end of hour number 1. But this is your chance to grab some additional snack and drinks, and I will meet you right back here when we start hour number 2. Right after these messages. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Classic Radio Rewind, and kicking off this hour, we're going to hear from Harold Perry as the Great Gildersleeve. In this episode, after Gildersleeve goes over the roster of wedding guests with Layla, he decides to go golfing with his buddies. I'm going to guess that this was probably not a smart move on Gildy's part, but let's find out together. From May 9, 1943, this is Harold Perry in the Great Gildersleeve with the episode titled The Wedding List.
Kraft presents The Great Gildersleeve. The Kraft Cheese Company will also bring you Bing Crosby every Thursday night. Present each week at this time Harold Perry as The Great Gildersleeve, written by John Whedon and Sam Moore. We'll hear from The Great Gildersleeve in just a moment. But first, a few homemakers listening in are on the lookout for foods that are low in red ration point cost and yet high in food value. Let me suggest Parquet, the delicious, nourishing margarine made by Kraft. For Parquet costs just 5 red ration points per pound. It's one of the very best energy foods you can serve. And, of course, Parquet is an excellent year-round source of vitamin A. It's mighty important, too, that Parquet margarine has a delicate, appetizing flavor that'll perk up family appetites in many ways. Yes, Parquet is a wonderfully good-tasting spread for bread and toast and piping hot rolls, and a fine seasoning for hot-cooked vegetables. What's more, it's a real flavor shortening for your home baking, and it's grand for pan frying, too. So for outstanding flavor, for good nutrition, and for point value and cash economy, ask your dealer tomorrow for Parquet, P-A-R-K-A-Y. Parquet margarine made by Kraft. Just 5 red ration points per pound. Well, it's the second week in May, and May is when Summerfield really comes into bloom. But while others take their ease, Summerfield's fighting water commissioner girds himself for a Saturday morning of busy accomplishment at the office.
Gotta be going. Let's see. Briefcase, I've got it. Handkerchief in my pocket. Hat on my head. Goodbye, Bertie.
Bye, Miss Gildersleeve.
One side there, Leroy.
So long, Unc. Don't let anybody put anything over on you.
When did anybody ever put anything over on me?
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Yes, Bertie.
Are you going to be home for lunch today?
No, Bertie, I'm afraid not. Busy day ahead. Will that upset your plans?
Oh, no, sir. That means we can have a 16-point dinner.
Yeah. Leroy, you know something?
What, Unc?
I do believe this grass is getting long enough to mow.
Oh, now, Unc.
Get the jump on it, my boy. It's the only way. Never let it get ahead of you.
Gosh, you're liable to stunt its growth if you cut it now.
Yes. Just once over lightly with a lawnmower, Leroy. It won't do the grass a bit of harm, and it'll do you a lot of good. I'd mow it myself if I weren't so busy.
Yeah. Hi, Mrs. Ransom.
Oh, hello, Leela. Leroy, stick in your shirt tail. You look disgusting.
Throckmorton, you're not leaving.
Well, yes, I was. I was just on my way to the office, Leela. Busy day.
But what about your promise?
Promise?
You were going to go over the list of wedding invitations with me, who we were going to send them to and all.
Oh, so I was. Well, I'll tell you what, Leela. You just decide. Anything you decide's all right with me.
But aren't you interested in who comes to our wedding, Throckmorton?
Why, of course, Leela. I'm very interested. It's just that I've got a lot of important things to do down at the office.
Is anything more important than our wedding?
Watch it, Unc. It's a booby trap.
Leroy, I think we can dispense with your presence now.
Yes, run along, Leroy, and play with some of your little friends.
What a character.
Now come and sit down on the porch with me, Throckmorton. It won't take long.
Yes, but Leela...
You've been putting it off, but we've just got to tend to it now. We've got to order the invitations, and engraving takes time. Sit down beside me.
I don't know anything about these things, Leela.
Well, I've made up a sort of a tentative list here. Now, first, there's my great-aunt Elizabeth.
Oh, before I forget it, put down the McGees, Fibber and Molly. I'm going to be sure to have them.
Well, let's discuss that later. We can't just invite everybody, you know. It's a small church.
Well, Fibber McGee is a small man.
Well, we'll get to them. But my great-aunt Elizabeth, we've got to invite her because when Beauregard and I were married, she sent us a chafing dish.
We can't use more than one chafing dish.
Oh, silly. And there's George William Hungerford. He's a sort of a cousin of Beauregard's. You know, it was the most awful thing. Beauregard and I never thought to invite George William, and he sent us a dozen hand-painted service plates with pheasants on them. I know Beauregard would never forgive me if I didn't invite him this time.
Well, we want Beauregard to rest easy. Send George William a pass.
Well, then there's Aunt Ellen, Uncle Chase, and I thought I'd kind of like to invite poor little old Darwin Shaw. Well, aren't you going to ask me about Darwin?
What about Darwin?
Well, poor Darwin. He was terribly in love with me at the time I got engaged to Beauregard. There was a sort of a misunderstanding, and somehow he got the idea that I was engaged to him. Oh, it was terribly embarrassing. He threatened to shoot himself if I married anybody else, but he didn't. He's in real estate.
And still hasn't shot himself?
Oh, no, he's doing real well, they tell me. But he's never married. I thought it would be nice if we invited him.
Oh, yeah, invite him and tell him to bring his six-shooter, Leela.
And then, of course, we've got to invite Beauregard's mother.
Listen, Beauregard had his wedding. What about my friends, Leela? I have a few friends, you know.
Of course, Throckmorton. That's why I wanted you to go over the list with me. Now, who would you like to invite?
Well, there's Fibber McGee and Molly.
Yes, you mentioned them. Who else?
The McGees live next door to me, you know, in Wistful Vista.
Yes, I know. Who else, Throckmorton?
McGee. Well, there's the McGees. I can't give you the whole list now, Leela. Look, it's late. I've got to get down to the office. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go over the whole thing with you this afternoon.
Well, do you promise?
Promise.
Cross your heart?
Cross my heart. I'd do it right now, but I've got a million things on my mind.
Throckmorton?
Yes, Leela?
Aren't you forgetting something?
My briefcase.
Oh, no. Not your briefcase.
No? What then?
Well, I never had to remind Beauregard when he went off to the office.
Oh. Goodbye, honey.
That's better.
Beauregard. Let's see now. Hardly know where to begin here. Oh, here's a letter. Dear Mr. Gildersleeve, it has recently come to our attention that you're about to embark upon the happy venture of matrimony. Allow us to be the first to congratulate you on this important step in life. Well, have to send them an invitation. As a man of foresight, we know that you will want to look to the future, and when the time comes that we may supply you, what is this? Faithfully yours, Summerfield Diety Service. Oh. What else have we got here? Here's another one. Dear Mr. Gildersleeve, You call yourself a water commissioner? Oh, my goodness.
All right, Gildy, we're closing up here now. Come on.
Oh, hello, Judge. Dr. Pettibone. How are you, Doc?
Get your hat, Gildersleeve. You're coming with us.
What do you mean?
Have you forgotten what day this is?
No, it's Saturday.
Well, it's also opening day at the club.
By George, so it is, Horace. Opening day.
Come on, we got our golf clubs in the car. We'll stop the house, pick up yours. Pals will meet us out at the club.
Oh, gee, I'd like to, fellas, but I can't. Not today.
What do you mean you can't?
Sure, they can't open the golf season without us, the old foursome. You know that.
I know, fellas, but you better just go along without me.
Nonsense. You want to get out in that old course and get some fresh air.
Doctor's orders, Gildy.
Gosh, I'd like to, but I can't. I've got important things to do.
What have you got to do that's so important?
Well, things. Besides, I promised.
Promised who?
Leela.
Uh-oh.
I promised her I'd help her with a list of invitations for the wedding.
Gildersleeve, don't tell me she's got you tied to her apron strings already.
I guess we know who's going to wear the slacks in that family.
No, see here, Hooker.
Alas, poor Gildersleeve. I knew him well. Another good man gone wrong. Well, come on, Judge. I guess we'll just have to find somebody else.
I'm sorry, Gildy, old man. We're going to miss you out there. Lovely day, too.
Gee, I'd like to, fellows.
You know that dog-leg hole you always had trouble with? Well, they straightened it out now. They say you can drive the green in one if you're lucky. I only mention it in passing.
Now, don't urge him, Doc. Don't urge him. Maybe Gildy's doing the wise thing. After all, he's getting on in years.
Who is?
Perhaps he knows best. If he's reached the time of life when he feels he ought to settle down and just spend his declining years puttering around the house, I think we should let him.
Listen, you old goat, I'll give you 2 strokes a hole and beat the pants off you.
Well, come on, then. What are we waiting for?
Well, boys, all even up to the 18th green. Pretty close match, I'd say.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for Gildersleeve's hole-in-one, we'd have beat you long ago. Lucky stiff.
Yeah, don't call it luck, Judgy. I was just trying to make a hole-in-one, you know.
Would you mind not laughing when I'm about to putt, Gildersleeve?
Oh, sorry, Powers. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
That's a beauty, partner. You're surely down in 5.
Never mind the gab, Judge. Go ahead and shoot.
I'll shoot all right. It's a very difficult putt.
Nothing to it, Judgy. Just relax. That's the secret.
Gildersleeve, if you don't behave, I won't print your hole-in-one in the paper.
All right, Powers. You can't take a little joke. Shoot, Judge.
Good shot, Hooker. You're sure of a 5 yourself. Go ahead, Pettibone.
Thank you. Say, it almost went in.
Concede your 5, Doc.
Thanks.
Looks like we'll have to play some extra holes.
Not if I sink my putt, Judge. If I sink this, we win.
Oh, don't be silly. That's an 18-footer.
If I can sink him from 120 yards, I can sink him from 18 feet. Every shot a little gem, fellas. Stand back, everybody. Quiet.
Nobody's making a sound.
I want it quiet anyway. Now, watch this.
Gildersleeve, don't get fancy. This is no time to try a one-handed putt.
Oh, that's one of my specialties, Doc. Look, every shot, a little gem. Yeah. Pay off, boys. Pay off. Nice hot shower. That's the best part of the game. We were sailing along.
Oh, that's terrible.
Cheer up, Judge. It'll be your turn to win someday.
That's right, Judge. Next time I'll be your partner.
Of all the
Oh, forget it, Powers. Come on, let's sing.
Yeah. We were sailing along on a moonlight bay. We could hear the voices singing. They seem to say. You have stolen my heart. Now don't go away. As we sang love's old sweet song on moonlight day.
Not so bad.
Well, it was fine except for you, Judge. I think your throat has burned out a bearing.
That reminds me, the Cokes are on the winners.
Huh?
Oh, Eddie, Phil, where are those doggone boys?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Eddie, get the drinks ready and give Mr. Gildersleeve the check.
Yes, sir.
Well, fellas, here comes the old cold finish. Hang on to your hats now, boys. Give me a towel, somebody.
Gildersleeve, I can see you've put on a little weight. And what's more, I can see where you've put it.
Well, you're my doctor, Pettibone. If I'm overweight, it's your fault.
Oh, nonsense. All you need's a little more exercise.
That's easier said than done, Pettibone. His lady friend doesn't like to let him go out afternoons, you know.
That's not true. My time is absolutely my own.
Well, I was going to ask you, could you play in our poker game tonight?
Oh, no. He's got to spend the evening choosing his wedding guests.
Oh, is that so?
Maybe that's his idea of a good time. Now, Throckmorton, should we invite Auntie Grace and Uncle Henry?
Hey.
Whatever you say, dear.
No, cut it out, Pettibone.
The wedding just won't be a wedding unless we invite Cousin Percival.
Hooker, I'm warning you.
I can't stand Cousin Percival.
Powers, would you care to step outside?
I can't, you darn fool. I haven't got any clothes on.
Oh. Well, then cancel my subscription to your newspaper. Today.
Don't you want to read about your hole-in-one?
Cancel it tomorrow.
Now, boys. Eddie, where are those coats? Eddie!
Coming, Judge.
Well, what about this poker game, Gildersleeve?
Gentlemen, I'm at your service. And I'll show you that in poker as in golf, Lady Luck sits on the shoulder of the best player.
Oh, for the love of...
He's just jealous, that's all.
Locker room. Just a minute. You, Miss Gildersleeve.
Thank you, Eddie. Some gentleman calling me?
Gentlemen? No, sir. No, indeedy. Step up and tell her you're going to play poker tonight, Gildy.
Let's hear you put her in her place, Throckmorton.
Remember, Gildersleeve, never ask a woman. Tell her.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell her. Hello? Hello, Leela. Yes, I decided I'd play a little The doctor said I needed some exercise. Fellas, please. But Leela, I didn't understand it was definite for this afternoon. But I thought if I...
This program comes to you by electrical transcription.
But Leela...
Tell her about the poker.
Oh, Leela, No, we'll cut that out, Powers. What was that, Leela? Oh, Leela, don't say that. Don't cry, Leela. I've got good news for you. Yeah, I made a hole-in-one.
We were sailing along.
Quiet, fellas. But Leela. Please, fellas. But Leela. Oh, shut up. Quiet. Not you, Leela. Leela! Now look what you did. My girl hung up on me.
The Great Gildersleeve will be with us again in a few seconds. Meanwhile, along with the suggestion that planning family menus in advance will save you points and money, I have another thought that may prove useful. Shop early in the week if you possibly can, and early in the day. That'll help your dealer, and it'll help you, too. He'll be more likely to have on hand the foods you've planned to buy, the outstanding red stamp values like Parquet, the delicious, nourishing margarine made by Kraft. It's worth shopping early to buy Parquet. For just 5 red ration points a pound, you buy a grand-tasting spread for bread that's equally fine for many other uses. You'll find it an appetizing seasoning for hot vegetables, a real flavor shortening for baking, and it's just about perfect for pan frying. Now, if it happens that your dealer doesn't have Parquet margarine the first time you ask for it, it's because of wartime shortages and Parquet's growing popularity. But Kraft is doing everything possible to keep dealers supplied. So ask for the vitamin A fortified energy food Parquet, P-A-R-K-A-Y. Parquet margarine made by Kraft. Now, returning to the Great Gildersleeve, we find him glumly finishing up his supper with Leroy, while Marjorie, dressed to go out, sits waiting impatiently for her boyfriend, Ben.
Mr. Gildersleeve, I hate to see you peck at your food like this. I ain't seen you eat such a light supper since the day you took Leroy to the circus.
Well, I can't help it, Bertie. Marjorie, don't you want something to eat? A little celery?
No, thank you. I'm mad now, and I'll just wait for Ben if I starve to death. Where are you going, anyhow? We were supposed to go to Bishop's Chop House for dinner, but we're so late now we'll never get a table. So we'll stand there for an hour, and by that time the meat will be gone, and by the time we've finished our chicken a la king, we'll be too late for the first show at the Majestic, so we'll stand in line there for an hour. The guy's probably run out of gas again. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Now, don't be too hard on the boy, my dear. He probably didn't mean to be late.
Oh, you men always stand up for each other.
Now, Ben's a nice boy, but I don't think you ought to mope over him.
No, fair one, do not pine for Benjamin. For goodness sake. There is another who could love thee truly till death do us part. Kiss me. Oh, stop it, Leroy. Let me take you in my arms. Let me fold you to my bosom. Let me...
Leroy, stop that drivel.
Oh, gee, I was just trying to cheer things up a little. You and Marge are so lovesick, it's terrible. I am not
Neither am
lovesick.
I.
Mr. Gildersleeve, could I interest you in a little dessert? It's chocolate pudding with vitamins B, D, and G.
Chocolate pudding? Bertie, we've been having chocolate pudding all the time lately.
Why, Mr. Gildersleeve, we ain't had chocolate pudding since week ago Tuesday. And I believe that was raspberry.
Huh? Give both helpings to Leroy, Bertie. I'm not myself this evening.
Not by a plateful. I'll go, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Well, there he is. 45 minutes late.
Good evening, Mr. Ben.
Oh, good evening, Bertie. Hello, Marjorie. Mr. Gildersleeve.
Hello, Ben.
Leroy.
Oh, Ben. Well, good evening. Ben, you didn't by any chance run out of gas, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Bingo!
Leroy.
Yeah, but that wasn't the reason I...
Ben, Waterford, you make me so mad I could spit.
But gosh,
Here we are an hour late, and we'll miss dinner, and we'll miss the show.
But Marjorie...
Now, you can wait for me for a change. I'm going upstairs and change my dress.
Gosh.
Ben, my boy, they're all alike.
Well, Mr. Gildersleeve, if all the women act like that, all the men must be crazy.
They are.
We are crazy, we are crazy, we are nuts. Oh, we are nuts. Happy little morons,
Leroy, that will do. You may leave the room, young man.
Oh, I want to hear you and Ben discuss dames.
Yep. Young man, go instantly.
Okay. What a character.
What was that?
Nothing at all.
He's a great kid.
He's a pain in the neck.
Well, that too. Gee, suppose Marge is ever coming down?
Oh, yes, my boy. Just want you to worry a little.
Well, I am.
When she comes down, there's just one thing to remember, Ben. Never ask a woman. Tell him.
Tell him, huh?
That's the secret.
That sounds like one of those good theories, but you don't know if she'll fly till you get her in the wind tunnel.
Huh? Oh. Yeah. Well, you take an example now, Ben. Take the case of a certain party I know. We'll call him Mr. A. He played golf recently when his fiancée expected him to spend the afternoon at her house.
Was she sore?
Oh, brother.
Well, Ben, have you got enough gas to get us downtown?
Well, sure. I had a gal in the back seat, but that wasn't what made me late.
It wasn't.
No, I was fixing up this little kind of a present for you. I hope you... Oh, here.
Oh, Ben, why didn't you tell me? Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Gosh, what about me?
Oh, I just can't wait to look at it. Have you got a knife?
Oh, I left it in my other pants. New suit.
Here's my cigar cutter. No good for cigars, but fine for string. Here.
Oh, twin bracelets. Oh, Ben, they're beautiful.
I made them myself. Made them out of piston rings. I polished them on the lathe down at the shop.
I thought they were handcuffs, my boy.
Oh, Uncle Mort.
Huh?
Oh, they're just lovely. Ben, you were so sweet.
Thanks. Well, shall we get started?
Yes, if you've forgiven me.
Forgive you? Oh, gosh.
Well, good night, Uncle Mort.
Good night, my dear. Good night, my boy. Ben.
Yeah?
I think you've solved the problem of Mr. A.
Oh, hello, Mr. Gildersleeve. Kind of thought I'd be seeing you today.
Say, Peavy, you've got to help me out.
Well, that's what we druggists are in business for.
Peavy, have you ever been in a spot where you had to think fast how to please a woman?
Mr. Gildersleeve, I've never been out of it.
Well, I'm in that spot right now, Peavy. I got into a little trouble this afternoon, sort of fell among thieves, and now I've got to go over and face her. I thought maybe if I brought her a little gift of some kind, kind of dazzle her and take her mind off things.
Very difficult to do. Very.
Yeah, it is, huh? You don't think she'd accept a gift?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. She'll accept your gift, all right, but then she'll get right back to the point.
Oh, I see.
Unless you happen to hit upon some particular weakness.
Weakness? How do you find that?
Well, the only way I know is trial and error. Now, in my own case, I was fortunate.
Oh?
I discovered Mrs. Peavy's weakness early.
Oh. What is her weakness? Maybe it would give me a clue.
Well, sir, I remember it was Atlantic City on our honeymoon. We were staying at the Breakers. Mrs. Peavy came into a small sum of money just before we were married, so we stayed there overnight.
Yeah. Oh, well, go on, Peavy.
Quite an establishment, the Breakers. Quite an establishment. I remember John Philip Sousa was opening at the Steel Pier that same weekend, and we...
You've told me about that, Peavy. Get to the point, will you? What was it you discovered about Mrs. Peavy?
Well, it's a funny thing. That woman has a positive mania for saltwater taffy.
Yes. Taffy?
Saltwater taffy. I bought her a 2-pound box there on the boardwalk, and I never heard another word out of her the whole trip. Of course, saltwater taffy is pretty sticky stuff.
Yes. Peavy, you've just given me an idea.
What's that?
Have you got any saltwater taffy?
No, Mr. Gildersleeve, I haven't. I'm sorry.
Then what's the use of telling me all this? Peavy, you can waste more time than any living mortal I know.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I haven't any saltwater taffy, but I'll tell you what I have got.
Yeah, what?
Some nice assorted chocolates. And they're hard to get these days.
Just the thing. Wrap it up, Peavy.
I have them already wrapped. It saves time.
Oh.
That'll be $1.63.
Okay, here.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve, there's just one thing. Perhaps I should have thought of it before.
Yeah, what was that?
The selection of chocolates you have there contains rather a large proportion of chewy pieces.
Well, that's all right. What about it?
Merely a precaution. You don't mind if I ask rather a personal question?
Go ahead, Peavy. You're a druggist.
About the lady in question.
Huh?
Are her teeth, shall we say, her own?
I've never asked her, Peavy, but I have every reason to believe that they are. Good day.
Good day, Mr. Gildersleeve, and good luck.
We were sailing along on Moonlight Bay. We could hear the voices singing. They seemed to say,
Well.
You have stolen my... Don't go away.
Mr. Gildersleeve, will you kindly take your foot out of my door?
Leela, let me explain. You didn't give me a chance this afternoon. You see, this thing came up.
I have heard all the explanation I care to, Throckmorton. I am not interested in any explanations that come from locker rooms.
Leela, I've been a foolish boy, and I'm sorry. I've come to ask your forgiveness.
Well, there are some things a woman just can't forgive, Throckmorton. And one of them is when a person says he'll go over an invitation list with her, and then he doesn't.
But, Leela, wait a minute. Look, I brought you a present.
Present?
Uh-huh. All for you.
Well, you can come in, but only for a minute.
Leela, you're an angel. You know, sometimes I think I don't know how lucky I am.
Sometimes I don't think you do either, Throckmorton.
Here. From me to you, with love.
Well, maybe I have been too hard on you.
Sure, a man can make mistakes. Go ahead and open it. After all, we're all human. You wouldn't love me if I weren't human, would you, Leela?
No, I guess not, Throckmorton. Gracious, I'm so excited. I wonder what's in it.
Oh, I'll tell you. It's candy.
Candy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so long since I've had any. Throckmorton, you're a...
Leela, what is it?
Mr. Gildersleeve, you may take your candy and go elsewhere with it.
Huh?
Here.
What's this? What if you're careworn and wrinkled? What if your hair's turned to gray? To me, you'll always be Mother, the dear one we honor today. Oh, Peavy!
coffee tonight. I got all ready to deal out.
Well, hello, boys. Make lots of noise. Deal me in.
Gildersleeve.
Well, I'll be darned.
You're surprised to see me, huh, fellas? I told you I'd be here. Deal me in.
I never thought you'd make it. How'd you get away?
No problem at all. I simply said, Leela, I promised the boys I'd play poker tonight, and I always keep my promises. And she said, all right, dear, just whatever you think best. Good night, everybody.
Music on this program was under the direction of Claude Sweet, and this is Ken Carpenter speaking for the Kraft Cheese Company and inviting you to listen in again next week for the further adventures of the Great Gildersleeve.
Are you puzzled with the main dish problem? Many women are these days. There's not only the money budget to consider, but also a ration stamp budget that can't be replenished with all the money in town. Well, here's one smart purchase that's easy on both budgets. It's Kraft Dinner, the product that gives you delicious macaroni and cheese in just 7 minutes cooking time. Yes, with Kraft Dinner, you get a nourishing main dish for 4 people, an economical main dish in a hurry. And the family will like Kraft Dinner macaroni and cheese. The macaroni is so fluffy light, and the cheese flavor is all through it. You see, each package of Kraft Dinner contains an envelope of Kraft grated along with the special quick-cooking macaroni. You cook the macaroni just 7 minutes in boiling water. With the Kraft grated, you simply sprinkle the cheese goodness through and through the macaroni in a jiffy. Your main dish is ready, a main dish you can repeat time and time again. And here's an exciting part of the news I've been holding back. Kraft Dinner takes only 1 red ration point. Ask your food dealer for Kraft Dinner. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
That was Harold Perry as the Great Gildersleeve with the episode titled The Wedding List, as originally heard May 9, 1943. And lastly on Classic Radio Rewind, we have an episode from The Whistler. This episode starring Jeanette Nolan. A ballerina swears revenge on the dancer who ruined her career. From March 28, 1947, this is The Whistler with The Black Book.
The Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. Rated by independent research, the most popular West Coast program in radio history. In gasoline, you know, it takes extra quality to give you extra mileage. And Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. So look for the Signal circle sign in yellow and black that identifies friendly dealer-owned Signal service stations from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story, The Black Book.
Paul had looked forward to the opening night in Philadelphia for months. And if anything, it had exceeded his brightest hopes. In a way, it was a reward for the 4 long years of struggle since he'd come to Cecil Wenham's Ballet Arts Company as an unknown dancer from London. Yes, Philadelphia was a wonderful opening, with 5 curtain calls for him alone after Spectre of the Road. He knew he had America in the palm of his hand now, that the morning papers would hail him as a star, that he was no longer a promising newcomer, but a great dancer. So it was ironic on that night in Philadelphia, with the applause still ringing in his ears, that Cecil Wenham should come into Paul's room and shatter his dream into 1,000 bits.
Paul.
Hello, Cecil.
Paul, I've done it. I've signed her up.
You'd better tell me tomorrow. I'm dining with some friends.
A 3-year contract, exclusive, with options on 2 more.
Look, Cecil.
Now, I want you to meet her, Paul. She's up in my office now.
All right. Who is it, Cecil?
Of course, I couldn't tell you her name until now, but... Paul, we've got the greatest choreographer and ballet mistress in the business. I had a hard time persuading her to leave London.
Wait a minute. London?
Oh, she's been topped over there for years.
Who is it, Cecil? Tell me.
Catherine Valadon.
Catherine Valadon. You hired Valadon?
You know her?
But she doesn't dance.
Well, I'm buying her head, not her feet. She'll direct the company for us.
She's out there now?
Yes. Come on,
I said I was late, Cecil.
Oh, come on.
Did you
Paul.
hear me? I'm late. I don't want to talk to anybody. Now, please, leave me alone.
Yes, it's ironic, isn't it, Paul? This night of triumph, the great performance, the resounding applause, suddenly becomes meaningless. And there's a heavy feeling of defeat inside you as you sink into the sofa in your dressing room, alone now. You sit there thinking, half hearing the music of the finale, and in your mind it seems to change slowly and strangely into another melody on a rehearsal piano 4 years ago in a London theater. A couple moves downstage center. The young man steps to one side as the woman comes to a point in front of him. The man is you, Paul, and the woman, Catherine Valadon.
Paul, I'd like to get it right just this once.
What's the matter now?
You're supposed to lift me at that passage.
I know it.
Then why did you stand there like an oaf? You are at least 2 beats behind me.
I was following the music. That's more than I can say for you.
You!
Oh, wait a moment now. Quarreling won't get us anywhere. What's the trouble, Captain?
I am waiting for Paul to decide to become a dancer. Perhaps you can convince him, Mr. Brady. I am ready to give up. I'll be in my dressing room if you need me.
What's the idea, Paul?
She's always waiting for me to slip so she can pounce on
You
me.
had no right to talk to her like that. The timing was off, and you know it.
No wonder it's off. I told you I can't dance with her. She's a machine, not a woman.
Listen to me, Paul. I'm not going to let that phony artistic temperament of yours upset this company. You're going to her dressing room right now and apologize to her.
I'll do nothing of the kind.
You'll do it or leave the company.
Look, Brady, that's pretty unreasonable of you.
I'm dealing with an unreasonable man. Going to do as I say?
Very well, Brady.
Well, Paul?
I've come to tell you that I'm sorry.
How sweet of you.
You can write that in your little black book, too. At exactly 3:15 on the afternoon of October 18th, Paul Cartmel came into your dressing room and apologized humbly.
Did you come here to insult me again?
You could be a charming woman if you weren't such a machine. Everything so prompt, precise, exact.
It's my profession.
It's your life. You're not human, Catherine.
Suppose you forget about me and concentrate on your own shortcomings.
All right. All right, I'm sorry.
Is he going on with the rehearsal?
Of course.
All right, let's try it again. And this time, keep your mind on your work.
Yes, it's coming back to you, isn't it, Paul? How you walked back on the stage with her, humiliated, raging inside, trying to ignore the embarrassed faces of the rest of the cast. The pianist picked up your cue, and the two of you moved together. She was poised before you on the point, and as you moved in to lift her, a single idea took hold of you. Yes, there's a traditional hazard in the ballet, Paul. A dancer, dropped hard on a pointed toe, will never dance again. You lift her above you, higher and higher. Then, in a blind rage, you relax your hold.
How is she, Doctor?
I can't say yet. We're waiting for the x-rays.
Is it all right for me to go in?
Oh, of course. Her friends are in there with her.
Thank you.
You're being a wonderful sport about it all, Kathy.
Why not? You don't think a little thing like a bruised toe...
Oh.
Hello, Catherine.
Paul, what a lovely bouquet.
I hope you like them.
I love them, darling. It's so thoughtful of you.
Catherine, I want to tell you how awful I feel. I don't know what happened.
Oh, not another word now.
Oh, it was an accident, Paul.
Of course it was. Happens in the best of
And
company.
they've all told me I'll be as good as ever in a week or so. Now, run along, you two. I want to talk to Paul.
Sure enough. Keep it up, old girl.
Goodbye, Kathy.
Goodbye.
See you tomorrow at 1.
1:30, dear. Visiting hours, you know.
Oh, good. Put me in the black book, darling.
I'm so glad you're taking it this way, Catherine. I felt like such a heel.
That's just it. You are a heel.
What do you mean?
Do you think I'm stupid, Paul? Do you think I'm blind? Accident. Everyone's talking about my unfortunate accident.
Now, just a minute.
You did not slip, Paul. I felt you let me go deliberately. And don't think I've swallowed that sugar-coated nonsense about coming out of it as good as ever. I'm through as a dancer. And I know it. Do you know what it's like to be through, Paul? Do you know how it feels to lie in a hospital bed with everything behind you and nothing ahead? Well, you're going to know, Paul. I'm going to show you, if it takes the rest of my life.
And that's what brought you to America, Paul. You never admitted it, even to yourself. Told yourself it was the war. Gave yourself 1,000 other reasons. But at the bottom of it was fear of a little black-eyed ballerina you knew would kill you if everything else failed her. Yes, Paul. Catherine Valadon has caught up with you at last. In spite of the new name, Paul Cooper. The new country, the new career. And as you lean back on the sofa in your dressing room, you know that here in Philadelphia, in a single evening, you've won and you've lost.
Paul?
Yes, Cecil?
Mademoiselle Valadon, may I present our star, Paul Cooper?
Don't get up.
I didn't intend to.
Paul.
Don't let it bother you, Mr. Wenham. Paul and I are old friends. We've been through a lot together in London. Hadn't we, Paul? In those days, it was Paul Cartnell, though.
For heaven's sake, Catherine.
He's always this way when he's tired, Mr. Wenham. Well, I'd better run along. You can call rehearsal tomorrow morning at 9 sharp. Please see that no one is late.
Well, taking over tomorrow, eh?
Yes, Mr. Wenham. I'm taking over tomorrow.
With the prologue of The Black Book, the Signal Oil Company brings you another strange story by The Whistler. But now, a timely tip for you drivers. The hot summer months ahead put an extra strain on a car's cooling system, often causing motors to overheat. That's why it's a good idea to have your signal dealer inspect your radiator now. As cars grow older, radiators often become choked with rust and sludge. To take care of this, signal dealers have special rust and sludge dissolving compound that restores the radiator's cooling efficiency but can't harm the metal. If your radiator has any small leaks, your signal dealer has radiator sealer that stops them in a jiffy. And in any case, even with new cars, it's wise to add rust preventative that protects both radiator and motor from future corrosion. You see, Signal service stations are much more than places to buy Signal's famous Go Farther gasoline and Signal Premium Motor Oil. Wherever you see Signal's circle sign in yellow and black, there you'll also find complete, conscientious Signal service to help your car run better, look better, and last longer. And now back to the Whistler.
So it all came to a climax in Philadelphia, Paul, with a ballet performance of Spectre of the Rose that made all the years of struggle worthwhile. And it's strange somehow that on your night of triumph, a woman named Catherine Valadon should walk out of your past and threaten to destroy it all. You're positive there's only one reason why she came to the company as choreographer. The reason she gave you in that London hospital room 4 years ago.
Do you know how it feels to lie in bed with everything behind you and nothing ahead? Well, you're going to know, Paul. I'm going to show you if it takes the rest of my life.
By morning, you know there's only one answer. You've got to make Wenham change his mind.
I tell you it won't work, Cecil. Either Valadon goes or I do.
What's happening to you, Paul? Catherine's doing such a fine job. Now, I want you to pull yourself together and start dancing.
I refuse to go on tour under these conditions.
Oh? Must I remind you of your contract?
I don't care.
Well, you'd better care. If it's violated, you'll never dance again.
Never dance again. That's what she said.
What?
Listen, Wenham. You don't know her. She's not just trying to drive me out of the company. It's more than that. She'll stop at nothing.
I don't understand you, Paul. What's...
I can't tell you anymore. But you've got to make a choice right now, Cecil. Valadon or me.
I want you both for the good of the company. However, if you force me, well, you're big, but you can be replaced.
All right. All right, replace me. There are other companies.
Oh, you're talking nonsense. Furthermore, your contract is not for sale. I can hold you for 2 years, even if I put you to work shifting scenery. You don't even have to dance, you know. Well, you better run along now. Valadon's waiting for you at rehearsal.
It's no use, Paul. You're back in the old routine. Under Catherine's thumb again. Just like 4 years ago in London. Only she's worse now, isn't she? Much worse. Because she's doing it all for a purpose. Yes, and she doesn't let up for an instant.
Places! Places, everyone! Well, our prima donna has finally decided to attend the rehearsal.
I'm sorry I'm late. I wasn't sure what time the call
The schedule is on the board. Gaieté Parisienne, 10:30 a.m. sharp. Can I be clearer than that?
Is the world going to fall apart if I'm 2 minutes late?
A real artist takes pride in precision.
I prefer to save it for the dance.
An excellent idea. You'll need it in the new specialty I'm preparing.
What are you talking about?
I'm working out the choreography now. It's a pas de deux, especially for you, Paul. I want to have it ready by the time we go on tour.
You're frantic now, not knowing what's in the back of her mind. And during the days that follow, you wonder about the special dance she's preparing. What she meant when she said it was especially for you. It becomes clear the afternoon she introduces you to Eric Ballard, a big, hulking man who'd look more at home in the wrestling ring than on a ballet stage.
I meant to tell you more about Eric, Paul. He'll be an excellent supporting partner for you.
Partner?
Yes, in the new ballet I'm creating. Mr. Benham thinks it's very original. Actually, it's based on something we used to do in London. You and I.
Catherine, what are you trying to do?
You remember, Paul? The one we were rehearsing the day you slipped? I've rearranged it entirely. Eric here takes your place. You take mine.
I take your place.
It sounds like an exciting number to me, Mr. Cooper.
Eric, why don't you go get Mr. Benham? We'll run through it for him.
Sure thing, Miss Valadon. Be right back.
Catherine, what is this? Where did you hire that hulking
Eric?
fool of...
Please, Paul. He's sweet to his friends.
And devoted, too. I suppose he'd do anything you tell him.
Perhaps. But you needn't worry about the dance. He is very strong, Paul.
Well, I won't do it, Catherine. If you think I'll fall for this crude attempt at revenge...
Revenge? That's the most you ever admitted.
I don't mean
Perhaps I should recall that little London incident to the trade papers. Let them know that their celebrated Paul Cooper is actually the Paul Cartnell who deliberately dropped the great ballerina and made certain that Catherine Valadon would never dance again.
Catherine, that's all forgotten. You wouldn't make
You'll
any...
rehearse this number with Eric. Have it ready for the time when we want to add some variety to the program.
Whatever you say, Catherine.
Good. You should enjoy it, Paul. As Eric said, it will be very exciting.
The tour that follows is a nightmare, with each new city a threat. You've rehearsed the new ballet with Eric. and all but the spectacular bit which is to be performed on a high platform. And you never know when Catherine will decide that the time is right for her revenge. She knows you're afraid, Paul. That's all part of it, keeping you in suspense this way. From Philadelphia, the company goes to Cincinnati, then St. Louis, Chicago, and on west to Denver. You expect the crisis there, but it doesn't happen. Finally, in the last night in Denver, when there's only San Francisco left ahead, you decide you can't stand it any longer, that you must face Catherine and have it out. As you approach your dressing room, you hear her talking to someone, and step back out of sight as the door opens.
Come along, Eric. We'll talk while you are packing.
Are we going on ahead of the rest of the company, Miss Belladon?
Yes. I have to make extra arrangements. The thing we discussed, Eric, it's coming off in San Francisco.
Well, I've been wondering if you changed your mind.
Not in the slightest.
You start after them, Paul, and then stop, confused, wondering. Through the open door of Catherine's dressing room, you catch sight of a notebook on her dressing table. The famous black book that contains every move she makes, every decision, every appointment. You hurry over to it, thumb through the pages before she comes back. It's all there, Paul. The hotel on Nob Hill where Catherine will be staying, her room number, the business meetings, a list of appointments. The last one with Eric, to end promptly at 11 tomorrow night. Then, at the top of the next page, the thing you're looking for, final rehearsal, Cooper's Specialty, Monday, 9 a.m. There's no question now, Paul. She's made up her mind. You're going to have an accident, Monday.
Do you know how it feels to be through as a dancer? You're going to know, Paul. I'm going to show you, if it takes the rest of my life.
There's still an alternative, of course. You can let Catherine end your career or meet her on her own ground. By the time she's left on the train, you still haven't decided. It's the only thing on your mind as you stand in line at the railroad terminal, waiting to pick up your reservation. There's a worried little man ahead of you.
Listen, I've simply got to get space on that San Francisco train.
I can give you an upper on the next one.
But it won't do. It won't do at all. You see, I'm meeting the steamer there, the Silver Star, sailing for Shanghai. The next train will miss it.
I'm awfully sorry, sir. Perhaps if you wait around, there'll be a cancellation.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
It comes to you at that moment, Paul. This is perfect. This train you'd planned to take ahead of the rest of the company, the frantic little man desperate for a ticket on his way out of the country. You pick up your reservation, walk over to the stranger pacing anxiously in the corner of the station lobby.
Excuse me. You wanted to go to San Francisco? Tonight? Yes, I've simply got to get on that train. So I heard. I have a ticket here I want somebody to use. Oh? I'm a traveling man, you see, and, I want my boss to think that I'm on that train.
Oh, but isn't that...
Nothing to it. All you have to do is travel in my name. Paul Cooper. What about it?
Cooper, eh? Mister, for a place on that train, I travel as Mickey Mouse.
Oh, fine. Then it's a deal. Mr. Cooper.
Airlines, reservations desk.
What time is your next flight for San Francisco?
We have space available on our 5 o'clock flight tomorrow.
Not till then? I could do almost as well by leaving by train tonight.
Not quite, sir. Our plane arrives in San Francisco tomorrow night at 11. The train leaving tonight doesn't reach San Francisco until a half hour after midnight, 12:30. So you save at least an hour and a half.
Well, I guess I can use an hour and a half extra sleep as well as anybody. Send the ticket over to the Denver Hotel, please. I'll leave the money at the desk. The name is, Jackson.
An hour and a half, Paul. That's how much time you'll have. But it's enough. For you're on a schedule now, too. As exact a schedule as the one in Catherine's little black book. You stay overnight at the Denver Hotel under the name of Jackson, then pick up your plane ticket. The next afternoon at 5, you're taking off for San Francisco. It's a swift flight, uneventful. And half an hour after landing at Mills Field, you're stepping out of the elevator on the top floor of Catherine's hotel. You wait until the elevator starts down and then hurry to the stairs. Catherine's room is actually 2 floors below. You glance at your watch as you knock softly on a door. 11:35. And the black book told you her appointment with Eric was to end promptly at 11. You can depend on that, Paul.
Just a minute. Paul, what are you doing here at this time of night? I thought you were on the train.
I am on the train, Catherine.
What's the matter with you? Have you been drinking?
No, Catherine.
What's this all about? Why have you come here?
To see you.
What about?
Your unfinished business, Catherine.
I don't want to discuss that now. Please, go, Paul.
No more discussions, eh, Catherine? The appointment's for the day over. Complete. There'll be no interruptions.
What are you... Paul!
Come here, Catherine. Oh, no, not the telephone.
Let go of me. Paul!
I'll let go, Catherine, just as I did once before. But first...
Stop it, Paul! Please! Put down that candlestick! Paul!
As she falls to the floor, you put the heavy brass candlestick back on the table. Cross quickly to the French doors leading onto the balcony and open them wide. A moment later, you stand near the railing, high over the glittering city, Catherine's body in your arms. The little black book will tell them she was all alone. Won't it, Paul? No more appointments. The body hurtling to the street will establish the moment of her death beyond any doubt. And you can slip quietly down to the station, just in time to make an appearance when the train arrives. You lift her high up on the railing, and then...
Cooper, what are you...
Eric.
Let go of her. Put her down.
Get away from me. Leave me alone.
Okay, Cooper. Okay. What the devil was he trying to... Good Lord. She's dead. How did he ever expect to get away with it? Operator, get me the police.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with a strange ending to tonight's story. Right now, however, I'd like to clear up another mystery that baffles a good many drivers. There are many brands of gasoline on the market. Some are naturally better than others. But how can you measure the quality of gasoline? Well, there's one very simple way, if you'll just keep this in mind. To give you superior performance, quicker starting, faster pickup, and smoother knock-free power, a gasoline must help your motor run more efficiently. Now, when your motor runs more efficiently, you naturally get better mileage. And mileage is something you can measure with your speedometer. That's why Signal says your speedometer is your best yardstick of gasoline quality. Check yours and you'll find it's true. In gasoline, it takes extra quality to go farther. And remember, Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. And now, back to the Whistler.
The last you remember, Paul, is the smashing blow of Eric's fist there in Catherine Baladon's hotel room on the 12th floor. Everything's quiet now. No tension, no fear, just soft, warm blackness. No, Paul, it doesn't seem to matter now that you killed Catherine Baladon because she forced you to choose between murder and a brilliant career. And it doesn't matter either that on this night, for the first time in all the years you've known her, she failed to follow the schedule in the little black book to the minute. You open your eyes, blinking into the glare of a white light at police headquarters. Eric Ballard is talking to a quiet-faced man in plain clothes.
At first, I couldn't see how he expected to get away with it. The door unlocked and everything. I got up there and walked right in. I found him about to drop the body over the balcony rail to the street.
Yeah, trying to make it look like a suicide, huh? What were you doing there, Ballard?
I was keeping an appointment I had with her.
You were a little late for that appointment, weren't you, Eric?
Yeah. Our boy's back with us.
That's what did it, you know, Eric. For the first time in Catherine's life, she didn't go by the book.
What's he talking about?
The notebook Miss Valadon kept her appointments in.
She changed the appointment, didn't she, Eric? She changed it.
You knew her better than that. That book was a religion with her. She lived by it.
Don't tell me she lived by it. I saw that book back in Denver. Your appointment with her was to end at 11.
That's where you slipped up, Cooper.
No, I didn't slip up. I was too careful. I tell you, I saw it.
That's not what I'm talking about.
What do you mean?
Take a look at your watch, Cooper.
My watch?
Yeah. You forgot to set it back.
Huh?
You see,
What?
Cooper, you're still on Mountain Standard Time.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Monday at 8. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories. Signal has asked me to remind you, to get the most driving pleasure, drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Jeanette Nolan and David Ellis. The Whistler was produced by George W. Allen with music by Wilbur Hatch, story by William Engvik, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is Marvin Miller speaking for the Signal Oil Company. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That was The Whistler starring Jeanette Nolan in The Black Book, as originally heard March 28, 1947. I'll be back with more in just a moment. Welcome back to Classic Radio Rewind. Coming up later this month on Old Time Radio USA is our first annual Christmas in July special. In gathering answers from the polls on social media, there was an overwhelming response of yes to having a Christmas in July special. So, coming up Thursday, July 25th is our first annual Christmas in July special. 24 hours of your favorite Christmas episodes from the holiday season filled with sing-alongs and timeless Christmas classics. This will begin at 6 a.m. Eastern Time over on Old Time Radio USA. For those of you that are new to Classic Radio Rewind and the WOTR Radio Network, you'll notice that most of our specials and marathons take place on Old Time Radio USA, and that is because that is our flagship station. The station that started it all for the WOTR Radio Network back in 1999. Yes, 25 years ago as WOTR Indianapolis. And it is the station that plays a variety of radio shows ranging from, as you hear Dex Rowe say at the beginning of every one of our Classic Radio Rewind episodes, from adventures to westerns, from comedy to sci-fi. But I do want to give equal billing to our other stations. If you enjoy the Suspense series from 1942 to 1962, then you will want to listen to our Suspense Radio USA station. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of all the known Suspense shows. Over 900 plus episodes of Suspense can be heard over on Suspense Radio USA. Next we have Crime Time Radio USA. If your old-time radio love is detectives, cops and robbers and dames, then head over to Crime Time Radio USA and check it out. Lastly, if you enjoy episodes from the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, then head over to Radio Mystery Theater USA to get your fix from episodes hosted by E.G. Marshall and Tammy Grimes. Well folks, that wraps up this week's episode of Classic Radio Rewind. If you have friends that enjoys the entertainment from the golden age of radio, be sure to share this and tell them about this podcast. And let's keep sharing and spreading the entertainment that is the golden age of radio. I do hope you can join us next week for another 2-hour block of classic radio shows. Until then, as long as Barry does not take an extended vacation, we'll see you next week for more Classic Radio Rewind.